Nati with another video for the channel. Welcome back to DMVSportsZone. And yes, we're back with another edition of Washington Commanders Weekly, the live stream that we like to have before games every week. And I'm here, my guy, Washington Command Post. How are you doing, bro, on this wonderful Saturday afternoon now?
I'm doing amazing. It's pretty hot in my car, but other than that, I'm doing very well. So,
yeah, I heard it's a little hot out there right now in the DMV.
I'm on DMV. I'm in Pittsburgh.
Oh, Pittsburgh. My bad. But
I live in Pittsburgh. Still hot here. It's still hot here. So,
yeah. Yep.
Definitely warm one.
For sure. And yeah, because it's been a while since we've done one of these Commanders Weekly live streams. I do want to first dive into the William Jackson trade from earlier this week. The Steelers got William Jackson III plus a 2025 conditional 7th round draft pick. The Commanders got a 2025 conditional 6th round draft pick in return. Also, I think it's important to note that the Steelers will assume the rest of Jackson's 2022 base salary of $2.77 million, while we will carry the $9 million dead cap charge from Jackson's signing bonus in 2023. What are your thoughts on the trade that went down earlier this week and how that leaves our cornerback room as is?
Well, honestly, I think we've been better since Jackson's been benched. We run a defensive scheme that is primarily zone, and he's a man corner. It made sense to signing at the time because it was a big name. And the fact that we could pull a big name was great, but schematically, it's just not matching up. You have two of our other corners, which is St. Juice and Fuller, play zone, and we have one that plays man. I'm sure there is some kind of hybrid defense you can run where one side can play man, one side can play zone, but I'm pretty sure William Jackson III is not Deion Sanders where you would run something like that. So he just wasn't helping. And earlier in the season, whenever he played, our defense has probably been our best unit all year. I think we can both agree on when it comes to offense, special teams, and defense. Our defense has been the best. It's definitely made the most adjustments. But when we had him starting earlier in the season, the big plays we had a lot. Our defense was like solid. One big play that would get them in like the red zone or get them down the field goal range. The Lions game is a perfect example of that. Our defense played pretty solid most of the game. And then William Jackson III would have a miscommunication, and then I think it's St. Brown would get like a 60-yard gain or whatever because of miscommunication, switching or whatever on coverage. So it just helped our defense getting rid of him. But it shows two things. One, the main thing it shows me now is for a long time I thought that John was extremely stubborn and set to like be right. And to me that he can just admit when he's wrong and move on. And I think that's some coaching growth for him, but that's basically what this was. It wasn't trying to force it. It was trying to like, you know what, this didn't work. Let's part ways. Let's put you in a better situation. Let's get to this and just move on. So that's my thoughts on it. I'm happy about it. I like the player. He played hard for us. He wasn't like a scrub. Didn't fit our scheme, and he always got penalized because he's playing the ball man and he's just playing the man, not the ball. That's just the way we play man zone. I mean, so
yep. No, I agree with you 1,000%. When we got him in free agency, I remember being super excited because he was the top cornerback on the market. I think that was the same free agency that we got Curtis Samuel as well. And I was just super stoked to have, another great cornerback in DC. But ultimately, when it comes to these high-priced cornerbacks that we bring in here, I don't know. It's something about it where it just does not turn out great in the end for us. And and it sucks to see how his short career in DC panned out. I was, again, super excited about bringing him over to DC, but it is what it is. I was not thinking that we were going to be able to trade him. There were talks right before the move that we would have to release William Jackson III. And I thought that would have been even more. It would have not been as great of a situation because we've been more on the books for his salary and stuff. But luckily, we found a trading partner. We only got a conditional 6th round pick in return. But at the end of the day, it's not really about the draft compensation for me. It's about getting him off the salary cap books and just starting anew at the cornerback position. We have Kendall Fuller, who's been pretty solid the last couple of weeks after a rough start, as usual when it comes to him in DC. And while Goose has shown some good things, although he keeps holding on to receivers, he needs to stop doing that. And Benjamin St-Juste, who I think we need to talk up more because he's played pretty well this year, if not very good. And last year as well, he had shown some good things as well before, obviously, the string of concussions that he had that basically tore up his season and left him, in flux a little bit in the offseason. But yeah, so to wrap up my thoughts, I hate to see how it went down in terms of William Jackson. We were all happy when we got him. We thought he was going to be another great cornerback here in DC, but it didn't pan out that way. And they cut bait, right? Kudos to the Washington staff for doing that. I will say I did chuckle a little bit when Ron was like, yeah, he didn't really fit our system. We made a mistake there. When us fans have been talking about since the very beginning to play some more man coverage because that fits William Jackson's strengths, but the team did not listen, and it is what it is. Now we got to move on. And speaking of moving on, I want to talk to you, bro, about the whole Daniel Snyder situation. So how, with everything that broke from earlier this week, even the Commanders actually released a Dan Snyder statement saying that he is exploring potential selling of the Washington Commanders. We still don't know if it's for a minority stake or for the whole thing. How excited are you that he has brought Bank of America in to explore selling the team and the general prospects of having a new owner?
On 10 being a room full of naked women, I'm an 11. That's how I feel right now, really. That's just because I got a very passionate rant. I can sum it up. I'm gonna try to sum it up. As a Washington fan, and I'm has new people on this and all of nation. We are different fan bases. We have to constantly our fan because of how shitty and our franchise has been run. I live in Pittsburgh. I have to defend my fandom all the time, and I also have to defend decisions of my team all the time, and the owner all the time, because no other team are you gonna say, oh, you're a Dolphins fan. They're not that follows like, how are you a Dolphins fan with that owner? How are you a this fan with this owner? We have to constantly do that. My whole life has been me. Like I've never gets to be their fan. Like, oh, cool, you're a fan of this, great. I'm not saying like why. I'm from Virginia. My family has always been Washington fans. My grandmother was full blood. I have all these disclaimers I have to give out to justify my fandom, whereas no one else really has to justify their fandom. But we have to, on a constant basis, defend the team. We have to defend the franchise. And my dad sent him this, and he said he never had to do that when he was younger. He's been a Washington fan his whole life, never had to. It's until this idiot, this moron, call him, just a geek that runs ball team, took up his team and meddled with it. And the fact that he could be ousted and be gone, be done with this franchise, and we can maybe get back to being relevant in the world rather than having 1 year where our division sucks, we win the division, great, and then we're bad for 3 more years after that. That's where I'm at with it, and that's where like all fans can defend the fact that we have to defend our fandom to anyone who is not in DMV. What it is. How I feel with it, and that's how if this team and it sold someone else, I'll have a parade myself in Pittsburgh. I'll roll around and float and be like, yeah, owner sold the team finally. And it was like, what the heck? And it's weird, but I will do that because it's going to be that great when it finally happens.
Yeah, I mean, grew up in the DMV, and I guess I was blessed in a sense where I didn't have to throw out like so many disclaimers in terms of being a fan. Because as soon as college started, and even now, like post-college, like I've been outside the DMV in Chicago and New York, and I always feel like I have to throw the disclaimers out, just like you talking about how, yes, I'm a Commanders fan. Yes, despite all the name changes. Yes, despite all the years of losing. Yes, despite this this human being that runs this organization that I am not fond of, to say the least. Yeah, I'm still a fan, and I'm with you. I'm super excited. This is the closest that Dan Snyder has ever been to actually selling the team. I mean, I didn't think it was going to happen this quickly, but you know, we said the same thing about the name change, right? I will never change the name, and then eventually he changes it. So, and a couple of weeks ago, really the last couple of years, Dan Snyder has been like, I'm not going to sell the team. Like, people want me to sell the team. That's just been his MO. And for him now to just say like, yeah, that's not it. I'm excited. And honestly, like the second part of the question in terms of general prospects of a new owner, I'm excited with some of the names that are being thrown out. Byron Allen is a name that's being thrown out. I believe he was part of the Denver Broncos potential ownership group that fell through, but obviously when you have the Waltons, right, the kings and queens of Walmart, I think it's really hard to throw up that change to compete with them. But and then Bezos is being thrown around, which I guess is a better option than Snyder, but Bezos himself is not a great human being as well. I think a lot of people are forgetting that this man is always in the news for how bad he treats his Amazon employees, not just even his Amazon employees. I think there was a story about I think it was a housekeeper that he was like awful to. I read a story a couple of days ago about how this man, despite being an on again, off again richest person in the world, richest person in the world's history, this man literally only donates 1% of his money to charity. So I just there's a lot of things that are not going so well for Bezos, but I guess if you want to compare Snyder with Bezos, you got to go with Bezos. I'm also, I don't know about you, bro, but Jay-Z, arguably the best rapper, I think the best rapper of all time, owning my favorite team would be really cool too. Although it's gonna be hard for him to throw up the change because I think he's worth like what $1.3 billion, and this team might go for $6 billion. So he might have to be a part of like a big group to get that done. But yeah, I'm super excited, man. Dan Snyder, people are mad at him from all different angles. People are mad at him from the sexual harassment stuff. People are mad at him from the name change stuff. People are mad at him from the lack of winning for the last 20 years plus. And I think that's the one thing, despite all of our difference of opinions that we have among the fan base, and DMV especially, right? Politics, all that. The one thing we can agree on is Dan Snyder needs to go, and this is the closest that is happening. And I think it has been a big celebration among the fan base this week because of that fact. I don't know if you have any more thoughts on this topic.
Well, I have a theory as to why he's selling. I had a video. It was a very short video, very quick video, but I can go ahead and elaborate. What it is if you go and nice guys, if Dan, here's what I think happened. I think what happened was after the GM made comments, handful enough to probably get hey, we are going to vote to get you out of here. So you either leave with dignity you have left, which he probably thinks he has some little dignity you have left, and sell your team for maximum profit. You're selling on your own accord, or you can be forced to sell when we put you out. And we force to sell at your value. What you're going to get for that down? I'll give it a very modern example. Clippers, when Donald Sterling was forced to sell, he got 60% that franchise been worth if he'd have sold it forward. So Insider spent $800 million on it. If he sells it, anywhere between 6 and 7 billion. Because there's a lot of people who've won for a long time. Jeff Bezos, Walton, maybe Elon Musk will look at something else and say, hey, I want to buy something else now. And I don't know. But there's enough billionaires out there who would want to buy a franchise. It's a status condition for billionaires. Not all billionaires have one. Look, a way late example. A long time ago, Trump tried to do it. He tried to buy Buffalo. So it's a decision for billionaires. So there will be a bidding war, and someone will overpay immensely. But if he is forced to sell, and they give him a sell by date, and he'll get maximum value for what he could get in. So that is why I personally think he is selling right now. It's either he can leave now, get on his yacht, go avoid all these legal issues he's having, or is he trying to sit it and he's going to come out worse on the other end than he is already, and he's going to lose money. He's forced to sell, and this is the way he can quote unquote ace, but also maximize his financial gain. So that's what he's a greedy person. He's a billionaire, but he'll charge like littlest, dumbest things to making suck money out of people. I can give a lot of examples of that, but that's just what he is. So they probably have the right heart. If we oust you, you're gonna lose money. You sell yourself, maximize your gains, and you can walk out of here, with $60 in your pocket. So that's my theory.
Yep. And to add on to that theory, I think that's a great theory. To add on to that, I think something that I've just been thinking about over the last couple of days, it's funny how all this talk about selling the team, right, happened after this 3-game winning streak that we've had, right? After we've tasted a little bit of winning success after that terrible start to the season. I think that's very strategic. He's trying to sell us when, we're at a high. And hopefully, if we keep this going, our value is only going to go up. And one thing I want to say, too, about this situation, one last thing. There's a lot of talk about how the Washington Commanders are the 6th most valuable franchise in the NFL. Forbes values us at a little less than $6 billion. I will say this. I think I read an article where I think it was as recently as 2013, where Washington was the richest franchise in the NFL. I think it was 2013 or 2012, something like that. I'm just saying, once we get a new owner here in DC, I can see us getting to that point, honestly, especially when we get a new stadium and, hopefully, fingers crossed, get some more wins under our belt. I think this franchise will be even more valuable, and I think fans will start to come back, and I think it will be a huge net positive for this franchise, for the DMV, and for the fans of this franchise that span all over the world. But with that out of the way, with the Dan Snyder situation, I do want to talk about stuff that relates to our players. First question I want to ask you, though. Thoughts on both Jahan Dotson and Chase Young being out on Sunday? Jahan Dotson has been out for the last couple of weeks with an injury. I believe he re-aggravated it in practice a couple of weeks ago. And Chase Young, his official practice window has opened, and he looks like he's very soon to come back for the Washington Commanders, but he's already been declared out on Sunday. What are your thoughts on both of those guys not playing for us?
So I'm not as concerned about the defense. Defense has actually been pretty solid without him. If our defense is putting up those without him, if we get him back, be a little bit better. But then we're taking a guy that's been productive off the field. So I don't know. I try to even though it would probably be the best option, maybe try one of ends that we're gonna field. Maybe try them at backer. Keep another good player on the field. Solid. That would be my you asked like that Mayo and Hall are out, right? And my adjust. I think whichever one. It's one of the two of them. Probably hold their own at election for a game or two. Maybe instantly, but could hold it for a game or two. But that would be my adjustment. So I'm honestly not worried. Defense has been great at making adjustments all season long. What I'm concerned about is the offense, and in the same breath, I'm not as concerned about the offense as I should, because the Vikings defense isn't very good, and the Colts defense was solid, and we didn't exactly do great against them to win. I guess the biggest concern are more or less, and if you've seen me on Twitter, this is Scott. It doesn't matter. I don't think it matters if Jahan Dotson or not. It's showing me he doesn't need to get guys. He did it the first season, and he hasn't done it since. It says these guys space and let them make plays. Basically, he did it the first, and he hasn't done it since. He did it the second half against the Twins. He hasn't done it since. So the first game against the Jags, he did it. The second game against the Lions, he got the ball. He adjusted and got the ball and got the pass because our offensive line was hot garbage, and still are, but they're a little bit better. I think he's compensate for that. But play calling should compensate for that as well, and that's where I think Scott very lacking, not understanding how to make adjustments. So that's my concern, and whether we have Jahan Dotson or not, the Vikings defense it's just a weapon to tear them. But the question we're gonna have is which one of them's gonna give. Their offense is good. Our defense is good. One of them's gonna have a successful day. Okay. Are this good? Can our offense keep pace? That's really the question about this game. Is if our defense is good, can our offense? If our defense is bad, I don't know if our offense can keep. Vikings they 30 in a heart. Good running game. They have a top 10 receiver, Jefferson. They have solid pieces across the board. I don't like Kirk, but Kirk's having a so that's really the question for me. Defense slow them down. Offense to keep up with the Vikings if our defense. That's the question.
Yeah. In terms of Jahan Dotson and Chase Young being out on Sunday, I'm definitely more concerned about Dotson. I mean, he's been out for a while now. He had a great start to the season. I think he's actually still leading our team in receiving touchdowns with all the time he's missed with 4 touchdowns. And again, he provided a great threat for us out there on offense. And I still would love to see Taylor Heineke with the Dotson, with the healthy Curtis Samuel for the first time right this season, and then a Terry McLaurin as well. I would have loved to see that, and hopefully we see that very soon.
I like to see Taylor Heineke with all 2 weapons too. To be fair, Vince has had a combination of all those weapons at one. Taylor Heineke is not. To be fair, not playing great. It'd be nice if he could have all the weapons he could maximize what he could do. All I'm saying.
Yep. No. I was mentioning Heineke. Like, did I say once? My bad. But I meant, like, I would love to see Heineke with all these weapons and see what he can do out there on the field, because he's shown some good things last couple of weeks. He's been a little inconsistent, but I don't know. It's something. Well, we'll get to Heineke a little bit later in this stream, but it's just something about him, man, that just at the end of the games, he just turns into Superman and just gets us to wins. And I think that's definitely worth something as a quarterback. But with Chase Young, though, I will say this. Excited to see him back out there on the practice field. Although with that brace, he doesn't look fully up to speed right now. And hopefully, he'll get to that point. But I'm just excited to see him back out there on the field. Our defense has been good without him, to be honest, even dating back to last season. But Chase Young, I think we cannot forget, even with all my criticisms, bro, like of Chase Young in the last year plus, I keep talking about how he only had 1.5 sacks through 9 games last season, and you can't have that as an edge rusher, right? Number 2 overall pick in the entire NFL draft in 2020. You can't have that. That's unacceptable. With all my criticism of him, our defense, in my opinion, would still be better with Chase Young. And at the end of the day, that's what matters. And, him being back sooner rather than later, I think that's definitely a huge boost for us. And it's coming at a crucial time when we're, going to play the Eagles next week. We're already 4-4, right? We're trying to hold on to maybe that 7th spot, maybe in the playoff picture, right? If not, try to do some good things in the division. Although the Eagles right now are 8-0, so that's gonna be a hard thing to do, to try to make up ground in the NFC East. But yeah, so I think it's coming at a crucial time, and hopefully we see Chase back sooner rather than later. Hopefully we see Jahan Dotson back sooner rather than later. You mentioned Cole Holcomb and David Mayo. Yeah, I think in terms of my biggest concerns right now, linebacker might be one of them. Although I do want to ask you both about Cole Holcomb and David Mayo being out, but also, can we talk about Jamin Davis? I think he's been making a lot of strides this season.
Leavens is what I would say. Absolutely, he's amazing. He's making tackles for loss line. He's making 4 ops.
Yep.
He been what he thought he would have been. He would have been like, yeah. Well, we drafted him. We drafted him. I think he's have nothing bad to say about Jamin Davis right now. As much as like we all rid of coaching staff getting another year. Linebacker has not been an issue this year, and at least in my opinion. If Cole Holcomb is healthy and we're doing backers with 3 safeties, I think that is defense. Cole is a hybrid monster back safety that anywhere, and I think that helps. Go ahead, sorry.
No, I don't mean to cut you off, but I was just, because we were just talking about Chase Young. That's what I mean, though. Like, Chase Young, we haven't seen, a Chase Young with this kind of version of Jamin Davis, right? With this kind of version of Cole Holcomb. out there on the field with the defensive secondary, not playing, actually playing pretty solid. I was going to say not too bad, but playing pretty solid the last couple of weeks, right? With Kendall Fuller.
I go a step further. We haven't seen him. I don't know now, but the defensive line coach, that was the biggest change we really made this off. And as of this moment, the line is a million times better last year. And with Chase Young coming back, if he performs to the line and they're as a unit now, that's going to be immensely better. Because last year everyone had all the first round picks there, but no one was playing as a unit. And now they're playing and you see how much better they are at stopping the run, getting to the quarter. It complete defense whenever the defensive line puts in the quarterbacks that receivers don't have forever to get open. And that was my last year. Like in Montez Sweat, we're going wide angle. Like I'll use the Buffalo game. Josh Allen would just take one sidestep and just roll until someone got open. Like a lot of teams like hooked us that way, especially like the Chiefs did it too. Chase Young got only one sack. He's going so he's over percent. I had that issue when I was in like middle school. I went over, and I was taking out such a high gap that it is a big gap. And so that's what was happening last year. And there was not adjustments. And whoever I coach his name right now did not make adjustments or did not clout that picture. Yes. The defensive line coach did not have enough to say, hey, we're first round. That's the hell we want. Like now they're doing it. Now they're coached to do. And like I said, without Chase Young, a second overall pick, top draft best defensive league, we are still a production. We are still giving our team a chance to win. So adding Chase, like plays like the team mentality and one team, one mind, one heart, whatever. That's what I'm excited about. I want to see that. I don't think we're gonna this week, but eventually we'll get it.
No, I agree with you. I think if Chase Young comes back and we see, maybe he might not be completely the Chase Young that we want to see, but if we see some good things out of him, combine that with Jamin Davis, who I still think, I know we just talked about him on our live stream, but I think among the fan base, we need to talk about some more in terms of his strides, and Nicole Holcomb, and the defensive secondary, being pretty solid as well. Kendall Fuller, Benjamin St. Juste, I think being a bona fide starter in our defensive back group. Cameron Curl being rated the best safety by PFF. Derek Forrest forcing fumbles on some of the best running backs in football. I think our defense is really solid. Jonathan Allen. I don't know about if you know this, bro, but I've been a John Allen stan since even before the days people were talking about putting him. He was the number one guy. People were like, we should trade him. Like one of the out of the defensive line group. Jonathan Allen's the odd man out. That was something that I kept hearing in 2020, and I was like, cool it, guys. Like Jonathan Allen's arguably our best. I said defensive player, period, and people laughed at me for that. But now, as we see the sacks start to climb, as we see the accolades, right, the Pro Bowl recognition last year, the top 100 recognition, and also like All Pro consideration. I mean, all these things, and then Jonathan Allen, I think, is even getting better. Right, he's gotten better since last year with the amount of pressures that he's forced, and also, like you said, stopping the run as well. I think he's improved a lot in that department. So, Deron Payne, the guy who might leave after this season. I mean, he doesn't have a contract past this season, right?
See,
I think he's stepping up big time as well.
I think we sign him and let Mon walk.
Yeah,
or
I agree if we have to choose either one.
We might sign Sweat and let Chase walk if Chase doesn't come back. That's possible too. So I want to justify something real quick. So I was at trade thing, but not because of John Allen. It's because of Washington, and has a habit of not signing good players. And my thought process is, for a long time we were not re-signing draft picks. We weren't signing guys we drafted. So my thought process was, he's going to leave. Let's get something for not it's like, it sucks, get him out of here. It was like, we're gonna lose anyway. We don't players. We don't have players that we have drafted. So that was my mentality. For everyone who said that, that was my mentality. And I will say that is why I had that mentality. Not because of John Allen. He is outright amazing, worth every pin. but because Washington is run, especially with the regime and things like that, not had consistency when it comes to re-signing top tier talent. Same with that was a worry for me. Him, I was son. After we got John Allen, okay, it's different now. We can actually get players re-signed. That's something that's cool to watch. But that was why I buy that. But it wasn't nothing to do with John Allen. Run as a franchise, and we always let players walk and get knocking for them.
Yeah.
So sometimes I watch a game with my wife, and I'm like, I played the Green Bay Packers. Watching the game, press the tackle like I think have that guy. We let him walk. Watching team, you have that guy. We let him walk. That's the habit or the habit as being a Washington fan. You get on other teams kicking ass. So yeah, that's fine that. But you're right. We should signing best thing we do culture wise. Same with Terry McLaurin.
Agreed. And honestly, it's looking. I know it's crazy to say because we're talking about millions of dollars, but it's looking like more of a steal at the end of the day in terms of that contract, or more of a bargain, I should say. I think he's getting paid, what, 17, 18 million per year. He's arguably a top 5 interior defensive lineman, defensive tackle. Like, I think Jonathan, I agree with you. That's probably one, the best moves that we've made in years past. And he's also, it helps that he's a home area like product as well. He went to Stonebridge High School. He's from the BA, and shout out to John Allen. But I do also want to ask you about the winning streak, right? 3-game winning streak. We started off 1-4. I'm not gonna lie, we made videos on our channel at that point talking about how we should make a quarterback change. Very much think about making a head coaching change at that point. Then all of a sudden, we rattle off 3 straight wins. We beat the Chicago Bears, although that was by the thinnest of margins. We beat the
if Curtis said a touchdown pass, it's not a thin margin. I think they handle the game a lot different. And you're putting a lot of Justin Field. I think that changes a little bit. I think not quite like it's not 100 thing. It changes a little bit.
That's fair. But how I see things is like, I don't even though it's hard, I know it's hard and I've done it before. I'm not going to act like I haven't done it. But the woulda, coulda, shoulda game, like with this franchise, I just try to like avoid that because, and then there's people on Twitter who I remember, I think it was Chris Bryant, good friend of our like channel, who basically mentioned how like, he still hates how we lost against the Titans. And like, it sucks because we should have won that game. But my thoughts are like, well, I think the Bears game sort of evened, like the Bears and the Titans games sort of even themselves out in terms of like, we should have beat the Titans, right? We had 3 or 4 opportunities at the goal line, and Carson Wentz threw almost picks a couple of times before ultimately throwing that pick at the end.
To be fair, they should have ran the ball. I'm not gonna be a Paul. They should have ran the ball, and if Ron Rivera doesn't want time an obvious play that he shouldn't have reviewed or had a challenge, we have a timeout we could have used there to run the ball twice. That's a little bit of coaching there.
Yep.
But
and we remember what we saw last week when we had a timeout, we ran the ball, right? Or at least it was a QB sneak, right? So we weren't throwing the ball at the goal line like we did a couple weeks ago against the in that game against the Titans because of the fact that we had a timeout right at the end of the game. So no, I agree with you, and I remember that call too. That was not worth the challenge flag, but Ron Rivera, it is what it is. We're 4-4 now. We're playing the Minnesota Vikings, who are 6-1. It's going to be a tough game. But the last question I want to ask you, bro, before even getting into let's talk about Terry. Actually, let's talk about Terry first and foremost. What are your thoughts on his clutchness late in games? Taylor Heineke and Terry McLaurin's connection over the last couple of weeks, and how that's sort of like reemerged. What are your thoughts on all of that? And also your biggest concern as well, even amidst all this winning that we've done the last 3 weeks.
Okay, so my thing may be cutting out because my thing is cutting out. It's cutting out. So hopefully you can still hear me.
Yep.
My thoughts on Terry. I think Terry is doing what we paid him. First, I want to give a shout out to myself because I did call on the Warpath. Hopefully you can still hear me. On the Warpath, I did call
Oh, now we can't hear you. Sorry, guys. Dealing with some tech difficulties. Let me see if I can get my guy back on. But with that, I could just talk some more about how I view Terry McLaurin and Taylor Heineke. So first and foremost, I talk about Taylor Heineke's inconsistencies in the last couple of weeks and how it's been, frustrating where we've started off really slow on offense, but I think there's definitely something to be said at the end of games. This man just makes the correct plays. He just makes the correct plays on offense, right? Whether it's moving out of the pocket, trying to buy some time, or throwing to Curtis Samuel on fourth and 6, I think, on that play. Making the right reads. Like, there's just something about Taylor Heineke where it's magic at the end of games. And then you combine that with Terry McLaurin, who's been a stud really for his entire DC career, but really over the last couple of games, seeing the emotion come out of Terry for the first time. We've never seen this kind of emotion. I'm always super stoked seeing it, and I think it really, in combination with Taylor Heineke's energy and what he brings to this team, I think Terry McLaurin is just something that allows this team to really rally behind, and I definitely think he showed up in a big way the last couple of weeks, and we see that with, I know nobody cares about Madden, but his ratings are just through the roof right now. I think he's a top 7 receiver. Yep, I can hear you.
One second, with my mic back.
Okay. Yeah, but I mean, and Terry McLaurin, he's the only jersey that I currently own. I have his rookie year Redskins jersey as well, which I've been talking with my fellow hosts on DMVSportsZone about how that might be worth something big time in the end if I do decide to sell it one day. But who knows, I might not. But yeah, I'm just super excited about Terry McLaurin and Taylor Heineke. Yep.
I can't hear you. I can hear you now. Perfect. Okay. So I was doing all my mobile. I'm going to connect to some Wi-Fi.
It's all good.
Hear me now, though?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right. So answer your question. You asked me what I thought of how Terry's playing. I caught a bunch of it while I was moving my car in this spot. Can you hear me?
It's all good. Terry McLaurin.
Okay. I'm just going to just do it the other way. All right. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna turn that down so I don't have. Okay, just gonna go non-Bluetooth now.
Okay.
All right. So, your question to me was Terry McLaurin. I think Terry McLaurin, which I'm gonna toot my own horn for a second. I almost to how much money he got paid. I was very excited. On the warpath with Corey. He asked me how much. It was like 23 million a change, and it was dead on. But he is doing what he's paid to do. That's what he wanted. He asked for money and not getting better. That's he is drafting.
And this has happened twice with us, John Allen and Terry, getting paid the big bucks, and for them to even be better after.
That's why I'm optimistic about signing Terry. Once we got John Allen on, okay, we're gonna re-sign players now that are good. That's much different than the last regime, where do that. And when we get Terry got signed, he's always been a good route runner. He's been pretty good at certain things, but now he's being the guy you can go to, and he's just like an automatic. And I would say that I think a lot of it, not all of it, because I think a lot of it is Terry's work, but I think some of it is Taylor Heineke, because he was not doing quite to that degree with Wentz. I think Wentz took the chances. I think he's played with him enough to know that if I throw it, this guy will go get it. And Wentz actually has a lot of chemistry with Dotson, the Samuel, because Terry McLaurin held a lot of the in the ring. So I think that actually has resulted in not a lot of targets for Terry while Carson Wentz was quarterback. So I think that had an effect. There's more chemistry between Carson and the other two and Samuel than it is between them it is between Wentz and I think Heineke and McLaurin have much better chemistry, and I think it's definitely helped. And having a quarterback chemistry with this is why if we get another quarter, I don't think Wentz will be around if we're just as good as we were with him. Than we were last year with a quarterback at $20 million less or whatever. If we have the same thing, we're going to need a quarterback gets good with Taylor Heinicke or Terry McLaurin. But I love the matchup of Terry McLaurin. I'm wearing it's a jersey shirt. Back it says McLaurin. That's the last time for a lot. The only jersey the last jersey I bought from Washington was his rookie jersey. He's one of my favorite player by far right now. Only other one I have is a Sean Taylor jersey I've had for like 15 years. But he is by far him and Jonathan Allen have been some of the best draft picks we had. And we just have a team. Yeah, absolutely. I don't have one. I don't keep it in my car, but I should have. Sure. I don't keep it in my car. Look at our team right now. So we just have a lot of guys that are ours, that we've drafted. They're home guys, whatever you want to call it. Cam Curl's gonna get he's gonna get a nice contract, and it's a guy we drafted. He's one of ours. He's someone that we've built. We've like built him up. Like a lot of guys that are
in the 7th round, no less.
Do what?
I said in the 7th round, no less.
Yeah, absolutely. And our team's full. Was another guy we signed, and now he's a solid NFL quarterback, and he was a later round. So we just have a team as guys that we're building, and that's what's different about different team compared to other teams. To answer your question, I love and you asked concerns were about the 4-game winning streak. One, I hope it's a 4-game winning streak. I really do get in the 4th. It should be a 4-game winning streak. And we were talking about the Bears game a while ago. I think we did everything to lose that game. We didn't do everything we could. I think there's mistakes that we just played a team that was not good enough to capitalize on it. Like there's sometimes we play teams that make a lot of mistakes, and we're not good enough to capitalize on it. It's basically what it is. We almost capitalized on all Colts last week. We almost didn't. We didn't have a boatload of mistakes. We had one turnover by Taylor or Heinicke, but they turned the ball over in worse spots than we ever did. Especially when they were about to score, they could have gone up, whatever. But I think with the Bears game, we definitely could to lose that game. We just came up against a team good enough to take advantage of it. This week, though, it's gonna be the base scenario. The week our offense. I don't want to say puts it all together, but they put it together enough that our defense has been giving us a chance to win. You hold a team to 20 points in a game and have a chance to win. You should be able to 20 some points in an NFL game to give yourself a chance to win. Defense for the most part this season has done that, and the offense has not kept up. And we've put a lot into the offense this offseason. We put more into the offense as off defense for sure.
Yep.
Also, I just spent a high pick on the. I haven't done that in years, other than maybe Dwayne Haskins, but that's a different discussion.
So, I mean, on the whole, Terry McLaurin and Taylor Heinicke's combo. Again, I said this when you were off a little bit, but I like what I'm saying. Hopefully, it can continue. Terry McLaurin, again, the energy that he brings late in games is spectacular, and I'm just glad. I've been saying it's a blessing that he's here in DC, and I'll continue to say that. And in terms of biggest concerns for me, it's injuries. Chase Young, right? Hopefully, he can overcome that. But then you got a Jahan Dotson. You got a Cole Holcomb, who's been injured last couple of weeks. So David Mayo, who's now injured, right? Who are we going to have to resort to at linebacker? John Bostic? I'm like how I feel about John Allen in terms of like how much I appreciate him is like the exact inverse for how I feel about John Bostic. I feel the same way, but the other way around. So I'm not a huge fan, but yeah, so I would say injuries for sure. Jahan Dotson, like, are the biggest concern. Even J.D. McKissick, who, I mean, I think he's definitely been phased out of our offense this year, but it's still nice to have him around. Although he needs to stop slipping. He almost cost us that game last week, and he continues to slip inexplicably on the turf, really over his own 2 feet. And it's been happening the last couple of years. And I think it again almost cost us the game last week. So he needs to get that resolved ASAP. But doesn't make his injury like not important to this team. And yeah, I do want to say with Taylor Heineke though, mention this off camera, but something a lot of people are not really realizing, he's off the books, the salary cap this season. Like he's up for a contract. And honestly, I would love to have him around, although this might be his one and only opportunity to go for the bag in free agency or something like that. So I wouldn't blame him if he decides to leave, although his greatest success has definitely happened here in DC. So, but I don't know if you have thoughts on his future, Taylor Heineke's future in DC.
I think he's a backup here for sure. Very least he can give you some consistency on the offense, at least as long as Ron's here, because he seems to understand he's Ron's system. And I want to say something about McKissick. I don't think McKissick's been phased out. It's more a result of the type of quarterback that Wentz has been, and he just hasn't been healthy with. I think there's a combination of or it hasn't been Heineke, because Heineke used a lot last year. Think of Atlanta. The game against Atlanta that was a hard pass. That was a 1 yard pass to him, and J.D. McKissick did the rest. So Heineke trusts McKissick. I just think that this is an embarrassment of riches is more or less what it is. But I don't think Wentz was to check down as much as Heineke does. I really don't. Heineke, Wentz wants to go. He would be a Bruce Arians offense. Just deep ball, risky the biscuit all the time, and that Wentz just doesn't. He either has 10 yards or it's just the way he is, and that's just the way he runs. Like be a career backup. I would sign him to. We'll see how the rest of the season plays out. For all we know, there's no point in re-signing a contract. We could probably get him on the cheap and go forward with Hal. I would honestly, instead of going out and trading, unless we like really less, I don't even think Aaron Rodgers. That'd be a lot of money to get Aaron Rodgers here. But I can't think.
I would still be down for it though.
Do what?
I'm sorry. I would still be down for it, even with the season the way it's gone. I'm sorry.
How much we got 1 year? And are we good enough in that 1 year to? Why I didn't think we'd get him this year is because he's only going to. Like if the way his season now, he might not even want to play next year in general, or at least maybe because they're not looking very good. That's a team that most of us fighting for the NFC North, and they're not even in contention. Vikings are running away with that division, and the Green Bay barely outpacing the Bears and barely outpacing the Lions. And the Vikings are running with that, and we thought they would be contenders. But they're not. They're not even close. They have nothing consistent. They have no running game. Their best receiver is a third option on teams. If Alan Lazard is probably their best receiver, third option on our team. I would take Curtis Samuel, Corn, and Samuel, and Watson over Alan Lazard best option. So like it. That offense ended on having that one big target that will catch no matter what, and that was Adams, and it's showing now that you can't compensate for good talent.
Yeah.
So that's basically what's going on with Washington or with them. But back to Washington. I lost my train of thought. I just saw my coworker.
It's okay.
But shoot, I lost my train of thought there.
No, you were just talking about.
I don't know what other quarterback we would get. Maybe I'm just really unless we got something like a Derek Carr trade, which he isn't looking great. I'm taking. I want to take Jimmy Garoppolo. I'd rather just have Heineke. So there's a lot of B tier quarterbacks you can get. You can get like Brissett. You can get. You can probably get like not start. Teddy Bridgewater would be another example. I would just Taylor. I know a Taylor, and I know in the games, if it's close, he does give you a chance. Here's how that Tim Tebow, or at the end of games, if it's close, something he gets up and he stands up and is like, let's go. He has that let's go get it factor. Great to watch. It's kind of scary whenever you're watching like a lot of ups and downs. I think Washington forecast calls it the roller index. It's just up and downs a lot. Game, it's not a roller coaster at all. It's like it done. And all the starts he's had this year, he's done. no other way of putting it. Either have that know what I'm getting in Taylor Heineke, then bring in someone like Derek Carr who can't mesh with the coordinator, because we're probably getting a new offensive coordinator. I'm sorry, not Turner, but I you can ask me more questions on that if you want, but I just don't see it going any other direction with that. He's no way he's here next year. There's no way. He's horrible. He is god awful, and I could wax for days on that. Sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay. If this offense
for 3 years, third year, like just like front season next season, and then have it next couple years in case we need to get rid of them or we need space or a real quarterback.
Yep. No, that's fair. That's fair. I do want to get into this more of this Commanders versus Vikings matchup. You sort of talked about, some things that I want to ask you about, but we got to talk about him. Kirk Cousins coming back to FedEx Field. You think he's going to slice up our defense, especially with it being a 1 p.m. game, not it being a primetime game, which obviously we know. We're very, very aware of. Kirk Cousins just falls flat every single time. What are your thoughts on the Kirk Cousins versus Washington defense matchup?
So I am one of the people, and I'm going to ask you this. What was your opinion on Kirk when he was here?
Okay, so my opinion of Kirk when he was here, I will say this: he definitely had his moments, great moments, right? You like that game, getting us to the playoffs, like all these sort of things. But at the end of the day, looking back on it, I'll say this: I'm glad we were not on the books for all the money we would give a basic, maybe top 15 quarterback who won't get you anywhere. I've been talking about this fact, bro, that in the last 2 years, even with all the controversy, all the off the field stuff, all the lack of winning we've had, in the last 2 years, and when I say that, I mean 2020, 2021, the Vikings won one more game than us with Kirk Cousins. One more game. And I think that tells you all you need to know. He's going to put up the stats. He's going to, inflate all of his production. But at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, he's just not a winner. And then I know people are going to throw out, they're 6-1 this season. Kirk Cousins is not having an amazing season. If you look at like his production, not even production, but look at him, like just watch him play the games. They're very much relying on Justin Jefferson just going off, right? Him just funneling all the targets to Justin Jefferson and seeing where that takes them. And then Dalvin Cook, 2 touchdowns, 100 yards last week, and he's been racking up the stats as well. So the defense, we got to talk about the Vikings defense as well, which has been top-notch and something that Washington should definitely be nervous about just going into this matchup, especially with Jahan Dotson still not being back. We have some weapons on offense: Antonio Gibson, Brian Robinson, Logan Thomas, Terry McLaurin, obviously, Curtis Samuel. Offensive line is not playing too bad, although now we're going to play against a very stout Vikings defensive front. And we know what happens usually when we play against stout defensive fronts. We force a lot of pressures, or we give up a lot of pressures, I should say, give up a lot of sacks. Hopefully that's not the case this week. But yeah, man, I am a little concerned about this matchup, Kirk Cousins, especially because it is a 1 p.m. game, and Kirk Cousins, I don't know, it's just 1 p.m. games he thrives in. I feel like he does a lot of great things, and it's gonna be a little scary for us. But I think we can kind of, I don't want to say hold our own, because Kirk is gonna have a day. I just have a feeling he's gonna have a day. But I think in the few moments when we get him, I think those few moments are gonna be really important moments and will help us, get to a point where I'll mention a little bit later in the stream. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Remember how I said it was hot earlier?
Yeah.
My phone literally shut out the app because it's so hot. I'm using my iPad
Oh.
now. But yeah, it literally won't open any app. It's like literally really hot. That's why my car's on right now. The air is on. So
also, I'll say this. I know we've been talking about this off camera. Your mic is like so much better right now on your iPad. Actually, like it's just yeah.
Yeah, I think the heat was definitely affecting that, because that's what affected my service too. It's really warm. I can barely hold it. It's so hot right now. So sorry about that.
No problem.
Gotta have a little drama.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we're talking about Kirk. Of course, we gotta have some drama. Yeah, I mean, I was just talking about my thoughts on Kirk, and I know you asked me like what my thoughts were when he was here, and like I said, there were some great moments, but at the end of the day, I was just happy we're not on the books. That was one of one of the few moments as a fan where I was like, the front office actually did the right thing in terms of not re-signing him because of the fact that you would have to give up so much money for, in my opinion, he's not mediocre. I think that's doing him a disservice. He's above average. But for a guy that's not going to get you to more than, 8-9 wins in a season, paying all that money, I thought it was never worth it. And my biggest gripe has been Washington replacing him, right? I think those are two different issues. The not re-signing Kirk versus the Washington replacement, trying to figure out what to do after that. So I've been talking about that on the channel. I know Abdullah, who's another content creator on this channel, loves himself some Kirk Cousins. I always have to talk down on that whole thing. But yeah, I don't know. What are your thoughts when he was here?
So here's how I'll explain Kirk without going into a tirade. Mm-hmm. Kirk, there's two types of quarterbacks in the league. There are good quarterbacks, and there are quarterbacks that know how to be good. Kirk is a quarterback that knows how to be good. He knows what it has to look like in the stat sheet so he doesn't get blamed. Mm-hmm. And I think that he quarterbacks that way. He looks at, like, what do I have to do to not get blamed for all the things wrong? And he works himself backwards, like how I'm going to be a quarterback to not get blamed. But he doesn't. Go ahead. Sorry.
No. Again, I'm not trying to like cut you off. I'll just say this. This season, though, he's not putting up the stats. So it's not even like he's not putting up the greatest of stats. He's not even up for MVP, like even with the Vikings being the way they are. I feel like that's more because of Kevin O'Connell, Dalvin Cook running roughshod on the field, and Justin Jefferson just getting all the targets and stuff. Like, if you look at his stats, this is not a typical, last couple of years, Kirk Cousins has put up amazing stats, but, their win totals haven't been that high.
Years, he had a defensive-minded coach that thought you could put it all on the quarterback. That's not a put it all on quarterback. Like, if he had Patrick Mahomes, that works. If you have a Tom Brady, you have a Josh Allen, that works. The offensive coordinator, Kevin O'Connell, understands that if we're going to be successful, we cannot put all the burden on a middle-of-the-pack quarterback. Okay? And when Kirk was here, he worked backwards from, like, how do I not get blamed? And how do I be a quarterback to not get blamed? So he would have, this is like the biggest thing with me. And I have, like, before I even started my YouTube channel, I had a channel before that where I had some, like, ranting things that I just complained about. And Kirk would consistently, first down, the way Jay Gruden's offense was always run, he has all three levels hit. He has a deep, a mid, and a short, and he also has a fourth level, which is like the check down. And Kirk would consistently go for the deep ball and miss it. Like his last year here, he had 11% completion percentage on passes over 20 yards. Mm. He would go for that, and then the next two plays, he would go for the two check downs, like, and get maybe 1 or 2 yards or 3 yards, and we'd punt. And he's looking like he's completing the ball almost 70% of the time doing that. And that's what he would consistently do. And when he throw it deep, it wasn't even like accurate. Like, I don't know how the hell you overthrow Deshaun Jackson, but he would overthrow Deshaun Jackson. It was consistently like that. And so he comes out looking like has 350 passing or 301 passing yards. He might have 2 touchdowns and a pick. And a game when we lose by like 15 or something or whatever, he'd get 2 touchdowns. Like, oh, it wasn't me. I had touchdowns. I had a high completion percentage, and that's how I believe I'm a results person. That's how I am personally. I'm a results person. That's why I love Alex Smith. People may hate him, but the results of Alex Smith was he won games.
No. You may hate him. No. I don't like either one.
Okay, it's fair, but he won games. And I don't care about the process of getting there. That's like people right now are not going to care about Taylor Heineke or about his stats. If we win, hypothetically, this is the craziest scenario ever. Let's say we win the next 4 games after this one, and we have a 7-game win streak. Do you think anyone gives a flying you-know-what about the process in which Taylor Heineke is winning those games, or do they care about the end result of the win? Which one is probably more important? But would you rather have a quarterback that has 350 passing yards and we lose, or a quarterback has 200 passing yards but we win?
Let me put it this way. I'm not even like, I agree with you on the whole stats thing. Like I'm a very, very much like an eye test over stats person. Like, I want to watch these players play and see how they perform, and then make my evaluation afterwards. And with Alex Smith, he did show some good things in 2018, but he missed way too many receivers. He was not consistent whatsoever. And then obviously he had the leg injury, but even in 2020, when he was leading us to wins, he was definitely not the reason for those wins. It was our defense. It was our running game. It was, all these things. Even in 2018 with Adrian Peterson, one of the most unheralded players to ever play for this organization, in my opinion, with the way he performed and stuff and how great he was for us. So it's like, I'm one of those people. Maybe you haven't come across us, but like I didn't like Kirk and I didn't like Alex Smith. Like I didn't like the whole, and I know that's like Nazi, like what do you want out of a quarterback? Like come on, but like I didn't like Kirk Cousins. Again, like you said, just inflating his stats, right? But not leading us to wins. And then Alex Smith, in my opinion, like everybody kept talking about him as a game manager. In 2020, was he really a game manager when he had more picks than touchdowns for a good part of the season? I think he might have finished that way as well, if not had equal amounts of both.
I think you're missing out on on other things other than the touchdowns, and there's also leadership. 2 years ago, whenever he played, what was the drastic change that we had on our team that led to us pretty much winning out the season and making the playoffs? It was not. It wasn't the change from Dwayne Haskins to Kyle Allen. It wasn't. It was a change to full-time Alex Smith being quarterback. That was the major change that resulted in us getting better. We had more leadership. People there's a difference between guys and just go out there. Like, I think Kirk went out there and get stats and went home. And threw the ball and went home. He didn't galvanize the troops. This is why Taylor Heinicke. I think Taylor Heinicke is better. Works better with the team than Wentz. Wentz has a family. He comes in, works, goes home. He doesn't galvanize himself with his teammates. And that's a factor that goes into being a quarterback. It's part of being a leader. As much as you may not like Alex Smith, I think Alex Smith was a better leader than Kirk Cousins was a leader. I don't think Kirk Cousins, follow me, guys. Like I said, he worked backwards from how not to get blamed. And Alex Smith and good quarterbacks don't care if they get the blame because they know they're going to get the glory, and they're not worried about having one or two games that are bad as long as the end result is what it is. And I think Alex Smith's leadership had a lot more of an impact, and he might not have had great stats. I mean, he had some games were great. Like, look at his Lions game. He had 350 passing yards, and he only played 3 quarters. So he had some games where they were good, but I think it's more of the impact of the quarterback. I think Taylor Heinicke has more of an impact because, one, he's played with the guys that are on the team more. He's played an extra year, but he's one of the guys, and they see him as we see him as one of our own. They do that too. Wentz is the outsider. And I don't think Wentz is actually he's not like a drama, but he's not the guy, and he doesn't have the relationships with everyone the way Taylor does and the way Alex Smith had relationships with people.
Yeah.
I think that's a difference in quarterbacking. It's not a results thing. It's a process. That's where a process comes in. Where are you part of your team? Are you galvanized with your team? Does your team follow you into the depths of hell or whatever? Yeah. And I don't think Wentz I don't think Wentz is a bad leader. I just don't think he leads in that way.
I think Kirk is more of a leader than Wentz in that department. I know that's not saying much,
but I don't think Kirk is as much of a leader as Alex Smith was, and I think that was a drastic difference in Washington from Kirk, which had stats but no results, with Alex Smith with less stats but higher results on what more or less people fans care about.
But to be fair, Kirk never had the Washington defenses that Alex Smith had. I think
I'm not giving Greg Minuski that much credit. I think I'm not giving Greg Minuski that much. We had a good defense that year.
You talking about 2018?
The year
that defense started off really, really great. That was one of the best defenses in the league.
But it ended the season really bad.
Okay, well, I'm talking about the Alex Smith time, when he was.
Leadership matters. Look at how we were 2020. 2020, we didn't start off great on offense or defense. What changed? We had more leadership at the quarterback position.
I disagree. I think it was our defense turning it on, and we ended up as one of the best defenses in the league. I think we were second.
But if you pinpoint the moment in which it got turned on and the flip got switched, it switched whenever Alex Smith was put in charge of the offense, and they got rid of Dwayne Haskins, the bad blood in the locker room, whatever you want to call it. Leadership does matter. I know you can look at the stats the stats weren't great, but that was the fundamental change. Is it went from being Haskins' team to Alex Smith's team, and just when you go from Kirk Cousins is Washington to Alex Smith Washington, the one year to the other, we're winning games that we weren't winning with Kirk. We were our defense was better. It was the same defense. The fundamental of the actual players on the defense were not much different. There weren't many differences. What changed actual change on the team was who was in charge of the team, who was the quarterback, who was the leader of the team. That was a drastic change. I'm just pinpointing that. If you look at personnel, the personnel was not drastically different. There wasn't like we signed one player and that changed our defense all of a sudden. Same defensive coordinator. 10 out of the 11 starters were exactly the same. I think that might have been the year we add John Allen that year. Was that year we drafted John Allen? I think
we drafted him in 2017.
2017. Okay, so John Allen actually was injured most of his rookie year, so that was the first year he actually was able to play. So you can say that, but I don't think that was that much of a difference. That our secondary was so much better. We were better on third down. That one defensive line was not going to change. I think it's a leadership thing, and we can disagree on that. But I think that's the one fundamental change that changed. And we were running away with our division before he broke his leg. We were on pace to win.
I think our defense and Adrian Peterson were carrying us to those wins, but
Adrian,
yes.
Adrian, but
well, come on, bro.
Dude. He barely had
bro. Adrian Peterson. I will continue to say this: one of the most unheralded players to ever grace a Washington uniform. I think he was so underappreciated here in DC, and he did so many great things. He was always a positive yard gainer, and I don't know, it's just something Adrian Peterson was one of my favorite football players of all time before he came to DC.
He's a top 5 running back to me. He's one of my favorite too, but
it's not like he fell off for us.
I don't dislike him. I see why Ron let him go. We got a new guy. He just wanted fresh start. Ron's first year, fresh start. I don't dislike Adrian. I think he played really well for us for an aging running back. I think he played very well for an aging running back, but nothing against him.
I think even that's
just reality.
I think even that's like discrediting him. Like, not just for an age, he was a good back for us. Like, he's someone that, like, usually we have players that come across DC and they're here for a moment in time and then they leave, and we think that was just wasted time pretty much. With Adrian Peterson, for me, it's just like I appreciate his time in DC and what he brought to us and how hard he played. He had 1,000 yards. He did all these things, and I don't know. There's something like just watching him play and just watch 2018. Again, I'll continue to say this. He and our defense were the ones that are leading us to wins. Not Alex Smith, not anybody else. It was those two aspects. And I know Ron wanted to get rid of him, although the whole Darius Geis thing and, Antonio Gibson drafting him in the 3rd round, all that factored in. And I get it. At that point, Adrian Peterson was 34, 35. But, like, especially at the start of his time in DC, I think he did some good things for us.
I don't discredit what Adrian Peterson did, but he only had 1,000 yards the 1 year. That's not a great average per game, but he didn't play every game, so that's to be fair. But the fundamental change was it might have been a combination of both. It might have been you had 2 adults in the room that were all about business, and that it could have been both. I think I could agree Adrian Peterson had a factor, and I think you can agree Alex Smith was a change, different kind of quarterback that had different things. So I think we can meet somewhere in the middle where they both were probably positive influences on the rest of the team. Adrian Peterson's no nonsense, what's come to work and what's work hard, and Alex Smith's leadership. So I think there's a combination of both. I think there's somewhere in the middle ground where we can agree on that. But I do not think that the defense got suddenly better because Greg Minuski became a great coordinator, and then the next year he started sucking again. I don't think that's
the same thing happened with Jack Del Rio. Right?
What?
2020, our defense was great. 2021, it was trash. Like,
I think the defensive line coach, defensive line coach was a big issue. When you're not getting to, when you're playing, if you play zone, here's the thing about zone. Zone, you're forcing the offense to take more time for plays to develop. So that gives you time to get to the quarterback. That's the point of zone. If you have, that's why you do zone. Is it makes a play develop more. It confuses the offense, and it gives you time to get to a quarterback. If you're not getting to a quarterback, the strategy is flawed. And that's what happened last year. You were not getting to the quarterback. So that made our secondary. Like I told people, I've been telling people, and I keep hearing this on like the Washington Football podcast all off season. Like, the secondary is horrible. Secondary is horrible. Like, what was horrible about the secondary wasn't that the secondary was bad per se. It's that you can't cover someone forever. You can't. They're professional athletes. They're 4-4 athletes. Eventually, you're gonna run around in circles until you get open. And if you're not sacking if a quarterback's can take 7 seconds to throw a football, you're eventually going to get open. And the difference this year is quarterbacks aren't getting 7 seconds to get open guys are covered on initial routes. Their plays are taking longer, so quarterbacks are either getting hit, they're getting flushed out of the pocket, and in an unconventional way, not a way like, oh, I'll just step up and I can roll out with no contest at all. Completely different strategy. Defense is working, like everything works in conjunction. Defensive line, like the secondary plays off of the defensive line. If that defensive line is not getting the quarterback, the secondary is going to be put under the gun because they got to hold they got to cover longer, and vice versa. If the secondary is not covering at all, and the defensive line can get there in like 2 seconds, but they're getting rid of the ball in 1.5 seconds, and your defense isn't covering, things got to work in unison. And I don't think last year it worked in unison. And this year there's been the thing that needed to be unified was the D line to make the rest of the defense come together. That's like now, because the D line working together, Jamin Davis is playing better. Cole Holcomb is even playing better. Even when Cole Holcomb was out, Mayo did not look horrible. So all those things are working better. And now, even with both of them out, because the D line's playing so well, you can go with, 3 safeties and modify your defense to adjust to whatever the offense does because you have a uniform defensive line now. Like, everything rolls off of that. And that's what the defense, we drafted for that strategy, and we didn't have that strategy implemented last year, basically.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay. No, it's okay. You brought up a lot of great points, and I don't want to keep you on for too much longer. So my last question before getting into the score prediction for this game. So we mentioned Adrian Peterson. So I think a very interesting part of this matchup is just the battle of the running games, right? You have Antonio Gibson and Brian Robinson on one side. You have Dalvin Cook on the other. I think we all agree Dalvin Cook is a better running back, right? But I guess just like you combine that with the rush defenses on both sides, which are both pretty stout. What are your thoughts on because we've been talking about the quarterbacks, and it's not all the quarterbacks obviously the most important position out there on the field. The running game definitely has a huge part into whether we win or not in this matchup. And I was just wondering, like, what are your thoughts on the Vikings running game against our rush defense, our running game against their rush defense?
So I think first off, I got to be candid here. Dalvin Cook is in my fantasy on my fantasy team. So and I'm in first place with him as one of my running backs. So he's definitely been good this year. It's been good to me for sure. I think we have more diversity in our running game. We have different types of runners. Dalvin Cook can do a lot. Dalvin Cook's a really rare breed where he can power run, he can be elusive, and he can catch out of the backfield. He's one of those guys, but he also
Alvin Kamara, I think, is another one.
This season, I would venture to say he might start losing a little bit of production because he's kind of a workhorse. He does everything. It's not like a workhorse in the sense like Derrick Henry is a pound it, let's hammer them into submission. Dalvin Cook he can pound it if you need to, but he can also catch out of the back. So he's an every down back, but that can get tiring in this age of football, especially as many plays as offensive run nowadays. So I think if you had to combine Robinson, McKissick, and Gibson into one running back, you would have Dalvin Cook. Okay, that's the best way I can put it. Now, like I said, if it's a long drawn out game, I think that's where our defense needs to come in and really make him work for everything. He has to feel our defense. We have the luxury of being able to go from Gibson to Robinson and have fresh legs. Dalvin Cook is not exactly going to get that option. They don't have a bad backup. I can't remember his name right now.
Alexander Madison? Is he still a backup? He's pretty good.
He's pretty good.
Is he still a backup?
He's a second running back. I mean, Gibson's Robinson's backup right now, and he's a good running back.
No. I mean, I was just wondering if he's still on that team. That was like my thing. Yeah, he is. Yep. He's second.
Yeah, so he's got a pretty solid backup, but I don't think Madison is as good as if Robinson's our starter, Gibson's a better backup than Madison is. We can agree on that. But I think Dalvin Cook is definitely the best running back when you look at all 5 of the running backs who can be playing in this game. That's something we can agree on. But our defense has to make them feel it. That's the best way to put it. And what the best way to beat the Vikings is take away Jefferson and make Kirk beat you and just stop the run. Now, our defense has been doing great at doing those things. So it'll be it's just like I said, it's going to come down to can our best squad, which is our defense, beat their best squad, which is their offense. That's really what it's going to come down to. And I think we can stop the run. I don't know if we can stop the pass. I'm more confident on our run defense than our pass defense.
Same.
That in third down, getting off the field on third downs is another big one. Kirk will throw short of that line. He always does. But are we going to be able to meet the receiver right as he gets the ball and tackle him, or are we going to give up some dumb plays that we're not going to have another running back catch the ball, sit on his ass, and then stand up and go run and get a touchdown like we did against the Lions? That just shouldn't happen. A lot of the things have been rectified, and that's part of the William Jackson factor. So,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I am definitely worried about Dalvin Cook. He has been a monster this season. Justin Jefferson has also been a monster. So, even stopping one of those guys is not going to guarantee a win because the other guy could go off very easily. But yeah, I'm definitely worried about stopping their running back. Although we've held our own last couple of weeks. Right? I believe we had Aaron Jones, Green Bay. We had Derrick Henry. Like, it's not like any of these guys have been like going bonkers on us. Hopefully, that continues. In the sense that, like, these guys don't go off against us, and Dalvin Cook doesn't have a monster game, and we limit him on the ground. But we'll see. We'll see about that. And then the other way around, obviously kudos to Brian Robinson, everything he's been through to just be at this point playing in football and really being a starting running back in the NFL like that. That deserves a round of applause. Even more than that, just like obviously comeback player of the year. If that was the thing, if he was eligible for that, he should definitely be up for that. But
you mean the Alex Smith Award?
Alex Smith Award. Yeah, the Alex Smith Award. That was a good one. But I will say though, in terms of his production, I haven't been like, I don't know. I just thought I saw way more out of Brian Robinson in the preseason than what we've seen thus far in the regular season. And like, I hope we can get to that point where he just becomes that bruiser for us, and like, I don't know, like, and he just produces for us, and hopefully that happens soon. But not overly ecstatic with what I've seen out of him. But again, like, the biggest thing is he's healthy, he's here, and he's playing.
If you look at his yards, he kind of looks like Peyton Barber 2.0.
Don't bring up that name. Don't bring up that name.
I mean, the reason why we regretted Peyton Barber getting rid of him is because Peyton Barber, when we had like a
regretted getting rid of him. Who?
We let him go last year.
Who regretted?
Hear me out. Okay. In 2020, whenever we had like a 4th and 1 or a 3rd and 1, Peyton Barber got a first down. If it was like 4th and goal and like the 1-inch yard, and Peyton Barber got that yard, that's where the regret came in. And that's where Washington probably regretted getting rid of him, is because we got rid of him and kept Gibson, and we had Gibson and whatever. We just didn't have that short yardage back, which they tried to get. Oh, what was that little running back we got last year?
Jared. No, it wasn't.
Back, Patterson.
Oh yeah, Patterson. Oh, I thought my bad. Yeah.
So we tried to make him into a Peyton Barber-esque back, and it just didn't work. And that is, I think, what Robinson was drafted to be, is that short down back. He's actually a pretty good solid running back in general.
See, I disagree though. I think they're okay. Maybe in terms of when we drafted him, but in the offseason,
we need to do a Zoom, and I have like a game film, and I'll show you where he's lacking. We need to do one of these, because I can show you there's a lot of times where Robinson, though he like runs hard, he runs up his lineman's back, and there's a hole to the right where he can get like another 5 yards. He does that so often. And Gibson used to have that issue really bad. Like, he would have bad vision. Gibson's problem is he used to be a receiver, so he's used to having like one-on-one tackles and not group tackles. That's why he fumbled so much.
Yeah.
So, but he's gotten better at the vision part, and Robinson will run hard downhill. So if there's a hole, he'll hit it hard, like one cut and go, and just get downhill. But he's not good at seeing holes once he gets that one cut, and he's like, he doesn't see the cutback lane very much. And I really need to. I wish I had like a channel or a time where I could actually do a whole bunch of game films and show people without being.
That'd be dope.
I want to, because I want to show how horrible Scott Turner's offense is. Like last year, I wanted to show why the defense was so bad, and it wasn't the secondary; it was the defensive line, mainly the defensive ends. But that's beyond it. But that's Robinson's problem: is he runs straight ahead, and he's not looking to like get more. I think he was just told to be a bruiser back. And either that's part of his development, because he wasn't like that in college. Like at Alabama, he did hit the hole, and he was more elusive. But I think that's what they kind of drilled that into his head. that he needs to like be our short down back for now, and he's going to progress from that rather than you need to be our every down back. So you need to hit the holes and find their holes. I hope they're doing that, but to answer your question, Dalvin Cook is definitely the best running back in this game. I think our defensive line is better than theirs, and I think our defensive line has been doing a great job all season long for the most part, except like maybe one. Even like the Eagles, we held them to the lowest running yards this season. And they got probably the best running offense in the league. So that's the question, and I think our defense will stand. Our defensive line will stop Dalvin Cook more than the passing is what scares me.
I will say, like, I am a little concerned about their defensive line forcing some pressures on our quarterback, just because our offensive line, I don't know, it's just they can be good, but then when it comes to like these matchups against some of the fiercest, some of the stoutest defensive lines in the league, or just against individual players that are really good on the defensive line, we just like give up a ton of sacks, a ton of pressures. This has happened really the last couple of seasons, and hopefully that doesn't happen in this matchup. But that's definitely something to keep an eye out for on Sunday. But really quickly though, let's get to our score prediction for the game. What are your thoughts on how the game is going to pan out?
I want Washington to win. If I was asked if I would put money on, I wouldn't put money on this game because I think Washington can. It's not one of those things where I don't believe it. It's just the question marks that I have are too my biggest question mark is not our defense. It's not even what it is our offensive line. That's my biggest question mark to me. And all this season, most of the season, I have not had confidence in that O-line. We went and got experience rather than youth and talent, and it's biting us in the butt. We had a lot of guys that weren't playing, and I kind of thought it'd be like a blessing in disguise that we were always mixing and matching offensive line, so we got used to it. Yeah. But it just hasn't come to fruition to being any kind of advantage at all. We just don't have the talent to. Defensive lines are talented. They're not just slow bruisers that like hold up the line. They get after it. They're athletes, and they just run these old linemen that we have over, and that's the biggest concern I have. And they're pretty good at run blocking, and I think that's why I think our run game can be successful. But the offensive coordinator we have does not run off the run game or doesn't pass off the run game very well, and he doesn't understand how momentum works. He really doesn't. However, I do think Washington will keep the game close in the fourth, and I trust Taylor Heinicke in the fourth more than I trust Kirk Cousins. So I think we're going to get this. This is going to be a close one. This is going to be a 23-21 game. I think we get 23 points out of this. We are down 20. Kirk's going to get like a touchdown with about 3 minutes left. It's going to be 21-20, and then Taylor Heinicke will put us in position to get a field goal to win the game. I think that's what it comes down to, 23-21.
Yeah, and great minds think alike because I have it about at the same margin, about at the same score, and with the same team winning. And this is coming from someone that keeps saying, "Oh, I'm a pessimist. Oh, I'm this, I'm that. Oh, I don't predict us winning games. Oh, yada yada yada." I'm predicting an upset here. I think the Commanders are going to win 24-20. This can so easily not happen. And we can both be tremendously wrong, and we both lose, or the Commanders lose in a blowout loss. This has happened before, if you can't tell, when I'm predicting games on this channel. But and again, I'm more worried than I guess others about our offensive line holding up against their defensive line and stuff, and Taylor Heinicke actually having time to throw and work his magic. But I think eventually the Terry McLaurin, Taylor Heinicke combo will come out on top at the very end of the game. I think Dalvin Cook is still going to have I think Justin Jefferson is going to have a much bigger game than Dalvin Cook in this one, just because, like you said, I am more hopeful in our rush defense and our pass secondary. And yeah, I think it's going to be a big win. Well, I hope it's going to be a big win. And yeah, it would be true, Steven. It'll be dope to get the game ball to Coach Ron, especially with his mother passing away, I believe, on Monday night, and everything that he's been through. And I mean, this man was there at practice, I think, the next day. If I know for sure on Wednesday. So like, yeah, if we win, he definitely deserves the game ball. And yeah, hopefully this can happen. Again, I can just as easily see us losing and see us losing in a big way, but it is at home. It would be nice.
I could see our team rallying behind Coach Ron in that regard, for sure. I could definitely see that happening. Like whenever we beat Carolina last year, they really rallied behind Ron to beat Cam Newton and the Panthers last year. So I could definitely see the team, possibly even the two leaders we've spoken about in glorious fashion, McLaurin and Allen, rallying the team like, hey, let's do it for Coach, do it for Ron. I could definitely see that happening. I could definitely be. It's a factor I never even considered till now. I did know about his mother passing, but I didn't think about how the team might rally behind that. It is a blackout game, so that's also another factor. I don't think it's going to have any factor at all in it. We're going to have a blackout game in the middle of the day. It's just going to be hot.
Yeah, and it's. I think it's that's why I mentioned at the beginning of the show. I think I checked the Landover weather before. I think it was a couple days ago. So it was going to be like mid-70s. Like approaching 80, like what are we doing? It's November.
Bro, I was at the San Diego game last year, or the not San Diego, the Chargers game.
Yep.
That game was like 99 degrees, and I had my daughter there. She was not even one yet, and it was just hot. Oh my God, was it hot? And I like 70 degrees is okay football weather, but 95-degree weather was just atrociously bad. It was not fun at all. I get it in the 60s. Good, like 50, 60s is great football weather. That's what you want. If it's raining, put it in the 70s in it, and then you don't get cold too bad. But 50s and 60s, I want to get to that. That's why I hate playing in the middle of the day. It's always its hottest point is middle of the day. It's like night games. It gets colder. You bundle up a little bit. Or football.
I like the 4:30 games too, because like it gets cooler, but it's not. You still see the light.
It definitely gets colder because the sun goes down around 4:30. So it's definitely cooler at 4:30 in the afternoon than it is at noon or 1 o'clock or whatever.
Yeah.
Except for
yeah, true. With that being said, though, I think we're just gonna cut it off here. I think this is a great way to end it, just with Coach Ron and talking about the motivation that he's likely going to bring for this team. Hopefully, we can get this W. I think this will be the biggest of all W's this season if it ends up happening this way, where we do beat the Vikings just because of their record. And with all this chirping about how the Vikings are, one of the top 5 teams in the NFL and all that, it would be great to get this W at home as well in the all black or whatever they want to call a blackout game, salute service game as well.
So that being said, further, what if we win this? How does that shed a light on the Eagles game next week?
Be that much bigger. It'd be that much more important. I feel like, not just. And when I say more important,
is that a Monday night game?
No, is it? I think you might be right on that.
I think it's a Monday night game. I think I may be wrong, but
you're right. Yep.
Because for a minute I thought we played them I thought they were getting a Thursday night game. Yeah, they are. They actually getting a Thursday night game. They're off this weekend, and then they're getting like 10 days to prepare for us. Like that is just like the NFL to give our rivals 10 days to prepare for us. That actually happens to us like 3 times, like the most of any other team in the league this year. Where teams get a Thursday night game and then they get Thursday night and then a whole week to prepare to play us. That's actually happened to us more than any other team this year. But I ain't gonna complain. That just makes the victory more sweeter. But I just thought it was like I was looking at that's just like the NFL to make a rival game like that and give them 10 days of prep. But
no, that's fair. When I say more important, once again, I don't think you might think I don't know if you have a different opinion on this. I don't think it'd be more important because that will I don't think. I'm sorry. I just don't think we're going to catch up to the Eagles in terms of like the number 1 team in the division. But it's going to be important because we're competing against 2 other
undefeated record. That's exactly what we can do.
That's true. But I think even more important, in my opinion, is like keeping pace with the Cowboys and Giants. And making sure that
I think Giants are false. They're very false.
They are, but at the end of the day, they're 6-2. Like at the end of the day, the record speaks for itself, and like we gotta take them for what they are, and it is what it is.
Like 2020 Washington versus Steeler vibes when it comes to those Eagles.
Well, hold on. First, we gotta win this.
Yeah,
this matchup.
Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself.
We can't even because if they wet the bed on Sunday, then like all this talk about us beating the Eagles, I'm sorry, but like it's gonna go for me. I know among this fan base, we still love this team, and we still think any given Sunday. For me, all that talk is gonna go mute. Like I'm just saying,
I think we win every game. That's just my thing. I'm gonna work, and I try to think of a scenario where how we would win every game. Like we had a way we could have beaten the Eagles last time we played them. The problem is we just couldn't get any points on the board at all. Our defense did a great job holding them like 20-some points.
24. Yep.
Yeah, if we'd have kept pace, they could have not been as balanced as they were. The problem was they were so balanced, and it opened up their passing.
Offense was trash.
Passing plays. That's what beat us. So
offense was trash too. I think we could talk about that as well on another day. But yeah, bro, I do have to sign out. But with that being said, thank you so much, my guy, for joining me. I think February, right? If not even earlier than that, we've been trying to get this together, and I'm glad that you come on to my show. Yeah,
I had a kid. I moved. I got a house. New job.
Well, congrats to everything.
Things like that. So there's a lot of stuff has happened, and my other YouTube channels kind of gotten a little bit of priority right now because you really have to be consistent with gaming channels. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on. But yeah, definitely glad we got to do this for sure. We always see your tweets. I'm like, I disagree with that tweet, but I just like it regardless. So I'm like, but then we get on here and we agreed about like 90% of it, and we just disagree about like Adrian Peterson and Alex Smith is mainly our disagreements here.
Yeah. So I agree 1,000%. Thank you for coming on. Hopefully, I can return the favor and come on to one of your platforms and do some good things there. But yeah, it's always fun interacting on Twitter. I still appreciate you sending me those links to the streaming games when my Sunday ticket went down at the beginning of the season. No. Sorry, I meant like completely. I'm paying for these streaming services, right?
Oh yeah,
I'm paying for these streaming services.
Gotcha.
Yeah. They're just out there. I just couldn't find them. It's my bad, and nothing shady going on here, but. With that being said, thank you so much, bro, for coming on. And I made sure to link your Twitter page in the description below. I know you have a YouTube page as well. Let me put this comment. Oh, my bad. Your name changed, but watch the command post is where you find them. Yep. And
if you will follow me on Twitter, it's Commander J Plank.
Yep. That being said, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the DMVSportsZone channel, where we like to post fire content like this as much as possible. Also, go follow our Twitter page at DMVSportsZone, Instagram page, all lowercase DMVSportsZone, and our TikTok page at DMVSportsZone as well. And with that, I hope you guys have a great rest of your Saturday. This has been another great stream, the return of Commanders Weekly on this channel. And yeah, hopefully we get another W tomorrow. Peace. Hopefully we do.